Okay, can you please share the screen with the program, because that is not electricity that you see on me right now. You see and I want to check the program. The one you have for what you have for the one you right there to remind the guidelines. The things the website is off. The website is off. There is no case the server is down. That's why I increased the requirements. You can put also presentation of okay. We can start in editing. No, that's okay. Okay. Well, good morning. We are recording, Mark, no? Are we recording? Yes, okay. Okay, this is the last day of the seminar. I hope that we still have energy for today after the dinner of yesterday. Otherwise, most of the people I'm looking from here are sleeping completely and like zombies. Okay, but we will have the last day of the seminar. But remember, most of the software developers, that tomorrow we will have a training only related with Rero ELS, okay? That's why you are still in Havana for another 24 or 36 hours, depending on the location you have to go back. And today we will continue with the topic of interoperability. But instead of being interoperability at the institutional level, today we are going to move a little bit further to the external level of interoperability. That's it. We talked yesterday about the application we have in what we call the reference technological OLINFER ecosystem, okay? And today we are going to try to discuss and give an introduction about how are we thinking to have interoperability between that ecosystem, the application of that ecosystem, with another external applications in Cuba and also outside of Cuba, okay? That's the main goal for the day of today. That's why we will have at the beginning, first of all, we will do the presentations of the two small groups of yesterday. Remember that we decided at the end of the yesterday session to use all the time for discussion and then to make a summary. And that's why we are going to start today with the presentation of that summary, okay? I don't know who will do by each team, by each group. Rafael, you will be the one who will do the summary of the group, okay? Of the group of that work with Valentina, with Imma yesterday, okay? Also Jane was in that group, no? Jane, you were in the group that were in the back part, okay? And who will do the presentation of the? Okay, you will. Wesley will do the summary of the discussion of the other group. Okay. After that, we only request both of you, I mean Rafael and Wesley, to try to be very concrete, okay? And it doesn't mean that you don't have time, okay? But try to go to the essential aspects of the discussion of yesterday, okay? After that, we will have then, as it is in our plan, a group of presentations, okay? Also with the perspective from our project, but at the same time with the perspective, for example, in this case, the FAO perspective, okay? Remember that we always show not only our conception of the topics we are working with, but also, and for us, that's a really important moment to look at experiences and approaches and conceptions from another context. And that's why we all the time invite experts like the one we have been having today here, okay? And after that, we will have the expert panel as every day. And then we will have the discussion by groups, and then as usual, we'll come back and do the conclusion. And in this case, we will do the conclusion not only of the day, but also of the seminar, okay? We hope that we will have enough time for all of that. And
they also will extend the time for discussion.
In the afternoon, yes, in the afternoon. Okay, that's the plan. To do not use more time for giving explanation of the organization, please, Rafael and Gisli, if you can come and start with the first part of the plan for today. Thank you.
That it's a document. Zoom. Okay. So we yeah. Yes. So yesterday the second discussion where we developed this document that has rather simple structures. We state the facts in our context, the facts of the participation of the impact of OLINFER in the Cuban context. Regarding to digital document management and the authorities, vocabularies, and guides for management of common data. So the facts, and if you go, I don't think that we need to read this. Yes, it's better to read. Yes. Okay. Okay. Well, the facts are that OLINFER, en español mejor. Sí. Bien, OLINFER facilita el acceso a la producción científica en instituciones académicas de Cuba. Por supuesto, OLINFER es un acuerdo entre las instituciones participantes en el proyecto y se han desarrollado herramientas para gestionar los contenidos científico-técnicos dentro de esas instituciones. Sin embargo, no existen aún herramientas para la descripción de los contenidos digitales, por ejemplo, las listas de autoridades colectivas a nivel nacional, lo que constituye un problema de eficiencia, ¿no? Ya que la gestión de la información resulta más complicada, ya que no tenemos esas listas comunes. El otro hecho importante es que la Biblioteca Nacional es el depósito legal en Cuba y tiene el mandato de establecer esas listas de autoridades. Y todo esto lleva al hecho de se necesita establecer todo esto lleva al hecho de que es necesario implementar una estrategia de coordinación para gestionar colectivamente la descripción de los contenidos y estandarizar el proceso de la descripción de documentos dentro del flujo de publicación digital en repositorios. Por tanto, las acciones que se proponen son establecer, definir criterios para el desarrollo de herramientas comunes para manejar contenidos digitales a nivel descriptivo, por ejemplo, listas de autoridades, y para estandarizar los procesos de descripción bibliográfica con el objetivo de resolver las carencias que se habían impuesto con anterioridad. Identificar las organizaciones que puedan coordinar el proceso de implementación de la gestión de documental digital. Aquí los posibles candidatos serían, para colaborar, la Biblioteca Nacional, las organizaciones gremiales. Consideramos también que es importante, en el caso de los bibliotecarios, las ORCID y las CUBI, y por supuesto también los ministerios de Ciencia y el Ministerio de Educación Superior. O sea, con respecto a el otro tema que debatimos fue la gestión de metadatos versus su exportación. También lo estructuramos de esta manera. Los hechos que se pueden constatar es que a producir los metadatos que no describen pertinentemente el documento y como consecuencia que no sean visibles, accesibles en la web, constituye un mal aprovechamiento de los recursos públicos. Los metadatos deben ser ricos a nivel descriptivo y es importante que los sistemas permitan describir los documentos de una manera más granular. Debatimos acerca de eso. Y diferenciar la gestión entre la gestión de los datos internos y la exposición en la web en general, su publicación. Por tanto, las acciones a tomar en esa dirección serían la revisión de los metadatos actualmente para asegurar que sean significativos documentalmente. Ahí hay algunas críticas a Space, etc. El apoyo de las instituciones académicas para articular estas acciones, la inclusión o la posible inclusión de más metadatos, más allá del formato del Dublin Core, en las plataformas que hemos trabajado en el INF, como Space, Rero, la agregué ahí también, la OJS, la tenemos. Y estas acciones deben facilitar el cumplimiento de los principios FAIR en el momento de la publicación o la exportación de los metadatos en la web. Es decir, gestionar internamente los metadatos de una manera más enriquecida y garantizar que la publicación cumpla los estándares y los principios de FAIR.
Pienso que es muy
Es muy claro las ideas, pero pienso que hay una cosa que debemos hacer. Indicar responsabilidades en qué universidad puede tomar la responsabilidad de acciones. Porque de otra manera, vamos a decir, son problemas de sigma. Pienso que es bien de pensar aquí quién va a tomar responsabilidad. ¿Sí?
Sí. Recuerda que hay personas conectadas.
Buenos días. Desde el punto de vista bibliotecario, creo que hay que pensar en el uso de una estrategia de datos enlazados y el uso de identificadores persistentes para las autoridades. A nivel internacional existen listas de autoridades que incluyen varias instituciones cubanas como BIAF, el ISNI, por ejemplo. Entonces eso podría ser una estrategia que unida, por supuesto, a esta acción de coordinar con la Biblioteca Nacional para establecer estas listas de autoridades cubanas, también nos podrían contribuir a un marco mucho más amplio de interoperabilidad a nivel internacional.
Otros comentarios, otros. Okay, Grizzly. I cannot with the conclusions of Wednesday.
Also that conclusions that are for yesterday and the one we are going to have today, we can have an exercise with the focal points and then make a distribution.
Yes.
And do later follow-up of the implementation of the agreements, okay? I think that's the best, because we will have also now a second group, we will have also some groups today, and all of the actions will be related. I wanted to give some possibility to the experts that were yesterday in the group, Imma, and if you want to say something. And Jane also were with that group yesterday, okay? Do you want to say something?
I must say that I didn't understand yesterday that we have to point out people in organizations that have to do A, B, and C. I understood that there were kind of reflections that have to come out of we discussed yesterday is that areas currently, in order to be, to make this pathway successful, needs to be enriched. And definitely this is the content side, because the point is that these organizations are going to have their own ALS implemented in each university. We are not going to develop a common catalog, because this is not very difficult, this is going to create a lot of issues, etc. But besides that, interoperability can help to connect these catalogs and to share some data that can make cheaper the creation of metadata itself. This is a reflection we did yesterday. So what we thought is that if you, as representatives of the project, representatives of ISADA, you can present this to the ministries. This is the follow-up that we need to work on that now. It's the content side. Then they can engage, because this is the reason why we prepared the facts, because the facts we wanted to state is we know exactly that there is already an agreement that exists. There is a commitment from these universities. We can build on this commitment, etc., etc. Am I right? Sí, ¿no? Es lo que dijimos ayer. Okay. So this is the point, is that they are already committed, right? But you are the focal points. You are the spokespeople, right? So this is what I'm saying. Okay, we think that this is important. We are there, but let's present it in a kind of a more structured way. But definitely what was discussed there is content-wise, and to make sure that they can work in a distributed way. This is the most important thing. And not to think about interoperability internally only, but externally. Because there was the FAIR data thing, and the FAIR data doesn't have any sense internally in the network. It has sense only when you think externally. Okay. Yeah, I'm here if you need something.
No, I think it's not. That's it. No, I'm very happy with the results. Only I see now that if the project only put these actions and give it to the ministry, you will have answers from the ministry. But it's probably good
some people are.
It's maybe the two mic. But anyway, it's good that there is someone that is out of the project we follow up.
I understand what you say, but I fully understand where you are, Mark, believe me. But we had only 45 minutes. And, but if you think that this is important, maybe we can spend a little more of time today to think, because this requires a little bit of brainstorm, that perhaps 45 minutes is not enough.
To bring further the information together and work then with the responsible persons of the universities afterwards.
We are talking about the same thing, okay? Wednesday, when the representatives of the Ministry of Higher Education was with us here, he came on Wednesday. Fortunately, we had a meeting with him, a more close meeting with him and the focal points, precisely because they requested us that any proposal, they wanted to have the 5 partner universities being the leading of the group, okay? Then any proposal we will introduce them, they will request, okay, what of the 5 partner universities will be the leader in that topic, and because they realize they don't have the experts, okay, at the ministry. They have managing people, but they don't have really the experts on the topics. Then they trust everything on the project, and the 5 partner universities, plus University of Havana and University of Oriente. There are a group of 7 universities. That it is supposed that that group will lead the transformation and the transition into the new approach, okay? That's why we are proposing that having that kind of document you worked yesterday, it will be very helpful. It will, before going to the ministry, we decide who will be really the coordinator of some group of actions. I mean, the university who will be in charge of leading the group. They are trying to do a network between our partner universities and the other universities which there is no knowledge today of those topics and there is no expertise in those topics, and to build new groups having one of our universities coordinating the work and have another universities completely new in this kind of discussions working with that university. That's the idea they have. That's why if we go to the ministry, we want also to go with the proposal of what partner university can be the leading university in a certain topic, okay? Or for a certain group of actions to do something, okay? And fortunately, we can do that next week when we have all the information structured and organized in only one document as a result of this seminar, as we did in the previous edition, and then organize how are we going to improve the strategy. Because at the end, what we are doing here will be the improvement of the current recommendations and actions in form of a strategy for the open science and open education. In that proposal for the ministry, we will have to include everything, okay? Trying to give them a one-only proposal with all the actions we are talking about here, okay? Loosely. Thank you very much, Imma, okay? You also will use a presentation for them? Okay. You are surprising me today.
Mark, you have to go out of this view. You're in the pattern view. You have to go to the normal area. Okay.
Buenos días, I will talk in Spanish, please. Bien, a petición de FEDER, el grupo 2 se concentró en el diseño de acciones concretas. La primera de ellas ya de alguna manera se adelantaba en la intervención anterior y tiene que ver con establecer de manera oficial un grupo de trabajo que acompaña al Ministerio en estas acciones, en la implementación de la política de educación, los principios de la educación y la ciencia abierta. Como en nuestro país se está llamando cada vez con mayor fuerza a que existen comités técnicos que asesoren a los directivos en las temáticas que bueno, el país va trabajando, y en este caso nuestra propuesta inicial es que este grupo, que hasta ahora hemos estado en comunicación con el Ministerio, pero que se declare como un comité realmente técnico que asesore y acompañe en la implementación de las acciones que hasta el momento el proyecto está proponiendo. Que estamos proponiendo que al menos estén los focal points, pero que ya con la intervención anterior fue escuchado que no solo deben estar como parte de ese comité asesor las universidades miembros del proyecto, sino otras que puedan estar acompañando. Y ahí entonces nuestra primera propuesta, crear un grupo, oficializar el grupo que acompaña al Ministerio en este proceso. La segunda acción está encaminada a aliarnos, que ha sido llamado el primer día, con otras instancias y otros ministerios que también están trabajando al respecto, y en este caso al menos conocemos del SIGMA como ministerio que está liderando las cuestiones también asociadas a la ciencia abierta, no solo para de una manera oficial también interactuar con nuestras propuestas, sino para conocer las propuestas que el ministerio del SIGMA en este caso tiene, y en función de esto entonces que el Ministerio de Educación Superior pueda estar preparado para asumir esas propuestas. Y la tercera y última acción es ir un poquito más y socializar entonces con el resto de las universidades, miembros del Ministerio, la estrategia diseñada desde el proyecto para recuperar entonces más información de otras universidades, para complementar con nuevas acciones, para incluso revisar los indicadores de la implementación que hasta el momento hemos venido desarrollando. Show the strategy, please. The document. Y que el documento, de alguna manera, ya lo presentaba en el primer día. The PDF of, Okay, you can move. Can you move it? Okay. Que en su estructura, y la idea sería esa, socializarla, trae establecido, esa es la primera, Ajá, que tiene establecidas acciones concretas, que tiene establecido entonces los resultados que se esperan y que se conviertan entonces en métricas para su evaluación continua, y que está entonces dividido por las dimensiones que FED presentado el primer día en el orden metodológico y legal, a corto plazo cuáles deben ser las acciones, ¿sí? Continúo. A mediano plazo, cuáles deben ser las acciones con los indicadores para su medición, y a largo plazo, cuáles deben ser esas acciones. Estas acciones, insisto, están en función de todos los principios de la educación y la ciencia abierta en sentido general, y la idea entonces, como tercera y última acción del grupo, bueno, pues es socializar este documento más allá de las universidades miembros del proyecto para lograr entonces opiniones y poderlo enriquecer. ¿Okay? Entonces, este documento también está en el sitio, aunque ahora no hay, no sé si el sitio está arriba, pero está también para la consulta incluso de los expertos que también nos pudieran ayudar a enriquecerlo. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Mark, I propose to start with the second part and to start with Imma, with the presentation of Imma. Can it be? Yes, not me. I don't want to start with Imma. I propose that Imma, because he likes the jokes, okay? And I mean Mark, he's not joking, okay? But the presentation of Imma, I propose to go for the presentation of the FAO. That is in the first group, okay, of the day. But to give the overview and your approach and your vision, okay, and then go with the project vision, okay. You were at the end, but I think it's better if we change the order.
Okay, I was not expecting to be the first. So I'm going to introduce what we are doing in FEO, particularly in my team, in terms of interoperability between or among information systems dedicated to objects like publications, essentially scientific or research outputs based on publications, traditional publications model. So I don't know how many of you know food. My institution is part of the UN, the United Nations. It's the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. We are based in Rome. We are one of the biggest UN organizations. And our goal is to achieve food security for all and make sure that people can have access to high quality food, etc., etc. I will not go too much into that because I assume that you might know, but for that, in order to do this, we need to provide access to knowledge, knowledge based on scientific outputs. So we cannot achieve our goals if we cannot make sure that our member countries, can exchange information in a more systematic way in order to make sure that what is being produced about rice in Kenya, even though it can be published in Swahili, can be read by somebody in Brazil that doesn't understand the word in Swahili, but they read Portuguese, but they are also doing some studies about rice. So this is our goal, is to go versus in a world where it doesn't matter if you speak English. You don't have to speak English. You have to speak your local languages. So,
Yes, I know. Your sharing. Sharing. Yeah, ORCID? Yeah, okay.
Yep. So we have different programs to achieve this, right? All of programs are quite old. They are not new. They have been there for many, many decades. FAO has been working on interoperability now for many years. And the first one is called AGRIS. I don't know if you are familiar with AGRIS, but AGRIS is a very big database. It's about 13.5 million records that was established in the 70s. And the objective to make sure that all our members could exchange data, sending their research outputs at national level to Rome, or at that time, Austria, processing the data and to make the data available through CDs at that time, or even in Spanish as diapositivas. So, essentially, what we are doing through AGRIS is to collect this information and to make the information available on the web. For that, we have two different elements. We have the AGRIS database, which is the AGRIS platform that has recently been revamped. I hope that you are going to like it. Where everybody can access to this. It's free, and it's not all full text, but metadata that have links also to full text. And then in order to make sure that this is possible, to make it sustainable, behind that there is a network of organizations making sure that these processes are happening. And this is about 459 institutions, not all of them are active because it's 50 years, so many organizations are dead today, but we became custodians of their data. So we are essentially, I'm going to go a little bit fast. I hope that afterwards you are going to get access to the presentation, but essentially what we want is to make sure, as I said, that bibliographic information can be exchanged along all these organizations. Everybody can access to that because, as I said, we are talking about documents like objects. So we have students, scientists, librarians, policymakers, etc. And they are looking for relevant information. Let's not forget that we are only talking about food and agriculture research outputs. Therefore, it's very specialized in this topic. Therefore, if you are looking for information about that, it has much more sense that you go to AGRIS rather than going to Google Scholar, where you are going to find quite a lot of noise. In 1978, which is the first directory that we published, there were 94 data providers in 94 countries because the relationship was one-to-one, one data provider to one country. Nowadays, we have, as I said, 459 data providers, and this is representing 153 countries. We have been working very hard during the last years to harvest lots of content, and we moved from 2016 when I got the program from 8.7 million to nowadays, which is 13.5 million. Essentially, we are harvesting data, and this is the reason why we are so important for us that you are publishing data in a kind of meaningful way, because then when we harvest your data in your repositories, people can really find your documents. Otherwise, they get hidden if you are not adding information that might be representing or describing your documents properly. So we have a kind of a content strategy. We moved from, as I said, moving from a system where people were sending the data to us to the possibility to expand the content collection using automatized ways to do so. We also are harvesting at the moment data sets, even though at the moment as well it's a little bit hidden because we are, as I said, we were revamping this. Now we are going to start doing this job again. We focus on quality. For us, it's more important to have qualitative and quality data rather than having a lot of records. So if your repository is not really having good metadata, probably we are going to skip your repository. And this is not a position only from FAO, it's a position also from other information services. This is the reason why yesterday in the conversation we had in the group where I was explaining that to take care of the content, not only the format, but the content is as much important as the format itself. We are collaborating with data providers as well, even though we are also collaborating with service providers, with both. And we are trying to get, at the moment, all metadata that has links to full text. But this is since 2010, so if you find records relevant for you before that, might be that they don't have a hyperlink. These are the types of resources that you can find in AGRIS: journal articles, books, book chapters, conference proceedings, lots of great literature, which is very important in the agricultural sciences, and data sets. It's quite popular in our fields. We have about 9.5 million users and 12 million sessions, unique users. And what happens if you decide to join the AGRIS network? So you have to be eligible in a way, but it's very soft. You can be academia, civil society, governmental, intergovernmental, non-governmental, publisher, research, and essentially to have data sets or repositories that are pertinent to food and agriculture. For publishers, it's very important for us that to avoid the predatory journals, before we have a certain rules, so we want publications from specific publishers to have 2 years of publishing history, etc., etc. I will not go through that because I don't have too much time, but they say that we try to make sure that we are getting pertinent publishers in the system. If you want to become a data provider, you just need to fill a form, send us your wish, and we are going to look at your request. I can tell you that unless you are really a predatory or you are publishing predatory journals, most of your organizations get in, so it's not a big deal. And this is the AGRIS interface. Here is the form that you can fill. And what is important, and it's matching as well with what Rafael was saying this morning, we are accepting any type of, so we are accepting different metadata formats. Dublin Core is one of them. Because in our system, we are setting also Notes, DOJ, and Note. And because we don't want to force, I mean, first of all, OIBC is too poor. With OIBC, we don't go anywhere. And we don't want to say to people what they have to use. They can use whatever their system is allowing them, okay? And then when we get the metadata, what we are going to do is a nice mapping and to make sure that when we are presenting everything from the AGRIS platform, what you can see is everything unified. But you don't have to accommodate, or anybody has to accommodate themselves to FAO requirements, because FAO requirements is only about that you have to have pertinent information to food and agriculture. There's an AGRIS data provider registry that is public. You can go there and to know who is participating. This is something that actually, Valentina, I think you presented something like that on Monday, right? So if you attended her presentation, this is also something about how we are managing these AGRIS data providers. It's quite a lot of work. We are also creating who is active and not active. So if you at a certain point in time don't have OIPMH, you are supplying data by email and you stop doing that, you are going to become not active. If you are continuously sending data, you are going to be active and this is going to be visible. And as well, we are aggregating data. So if you want to tell us what kind of news you are publishing in terms of information management or whatever, and you want to supply this data to us, we can publish the information at FAO.org because you are part of our network. So, and this is going to be visible then from a public form that belongs to the organization that is part of AGRIS. The AGRIS database, as I said, the resources are full-time resources are available from 2010. And so essentially, this is the website, agris@fao.org. Unfortunately, I don't know how to explain that, but it's blocked currently in Cuba. But I think the ministry. So, but if you want to access to that, you can use VPN or something. Ways to submit the information data, the information to AGRIS, you can use email, you can also add manual upload data service, and using automatic IT protocols. And the data release is periodically, but the good news is since we have announced the new system, we are going to be able to publish data every day if we want. It's simply at the moment it's still every month because we are setting up the system, but as soon as you send the data, we are going to get published. There are specific metadata requirements. You have to submit title. I mean, I'm using the you, but by you, I mean data providers have to submit title, they have to submit year, they have to submit a specific language, and this is mandatory. This table is explained quite in a simple way what has to be submitted to AGRIS. And then there is in the AGRIS, in the food agriculture sciences, multilinguality is a must. Is a particular set of sciences where English is not a primary language, not even French or Spanish. So there is, just to make sure that you understand the point, is that AGRIS has 187 languages represented. So, and for doing this management of data in terms of different languages, we are managing a thesaurus, which I think that most of you know because I have heard about it several times these days, which is AGRIVOC. AGRIVOC is translated to 42 languages. It's a SCOS model, so it means that we are based on concepts and labels. That makes us very easy, I will not go through that, very easy to build on the top and to put more and more languages. And essentially it's covering all the areas of interest of FAO, and the purpose is to classify data homogeneously. Yeah, here you see this is the concept rice. Here is, you can find all the translations of rice. Rice has narrow terms that are basmati, brown, etc., and belongs to cereals. This is what a thesaurus works. I mean, how a thesaurus works, their relationships, etc. And AGRIS is making use of AGRIVOC. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to really manage, and we are improving day by day. So in the next months, we hope to have more information available through the capabilities that we have in AGRIVOC. And this is the new website. It's a quite simple one. It's using all the well, it's a simple. I like it because it's simple. So this is advanced search. You have a simple search. In the advanced search, you can search by the number as well, by language, and by search for a certain number of fields. This is how it looks like the search results. Here you have different filters. You can access to the records. You find a record that is interesting for you. This is about our Cuba, urban agriculture. You have here all the information, and then you might have the full text, and you can go there and to look at it. And that's it. I try to be as quick as possible. But the only thing I want to say is that in the AGRIVOC context, we are evolving, but this is really a kind of a very high-level development. In our opinion, we cannot grow more and more. We have already more than 40,000 concepts, and we are facing the homonymia problem. The humans are using synonyms, or they are using homonyms, so we are calling in the same way different concepts. So in order to oversee, because technology faces this easily, the technology doesn't know about our limitations in terms of language, particularly in the SCOS model, but we are moving AGRIVOC into a schema where we are going to develop different schemas under the umbrella of AGRIVOC. So we will be able to have different concepts called in the same way, and it's through the definition that you are going to be capable to find out what is the concept that you are looking for. And this is something that we are already testing, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to be the future of vocabularies, because otherwise you will have to be switching from one vocabulary to another, because you will never have a vocabulary. It's going to cover everything you need, particularly, I mean, not to say about multidisciplinary fields, this is clear that it's not possible at all, but even in fields like agricultural information food and agriculture sciences it's not able, because fisheries is using certain labels in a kind of different meaning than, for instance, food or nutrition. So we have to face that, and we are now going to invest in this. And if you want to know more about AGRIS, just Valentina is from ICADRA. If you didn't get very well the relationship between her institution and my team, is that ICADRA, since 2 years, is collaborating in order to make sure the sustainability of AGRIS in the future. Because at the moment, FAO was fully responsible of AGRIS and AgriVoc. So at a certain point in time, it was decided to look for partners for AGRIS and AgriVoc, that in case that something would happen to the program in FAO, ICADRA could be a backup, etc. So we are looking for sustainable models to facilitate the services that we are providing worldwide, and it's the same for AgriVoc. We have another organization in Germany that is supporting the process. Okay, thank you so much. Do you have any questions? No. Yes? Well, I'm here, you know.
Okay. I have two questions about recognition of authors. Do you use identifiers for authors already, or?
We can use identifiers, but
Are you an organization that send the information using already?
well, the point is that we have 150, more than 150 countries. There is no harmonized way to create this list of authorities. So ORCID, I was talking to Anna yesterday, but still there are some countries where a little bit, it's not about the countries. What we were discussing yesterday is about, in my opinion, about disciplines. There are disciplines where ORCID or any identifier must be a must. But in agricultural sciences, we are not finding this yet. But the worst thing is that researchers can understand that they have to use ORCID, but the libraries might not have systems available or able to cope with these identifiers. And particularly in the export, because if you, as far as I know, if you want to export data with ORCID in OIDC, you cannot very easily. And so there are technical limitations, even though if the researchers want to do so. What we are finding from the information service perspective or service providers perspective is the data is not arriving to us. So we receive sometimes and we store it. But we can show it, but we are going to show what is being sent to us.
On that level, it's not mandatory yet.
No, we cannot do it mandatory.
It's not possible.
No. Also because there are countries where they, at the moment, well, maybe, yeah, you know more. You can recommend, but you cannot make it mandatory. Sure. But we have, I don't know, we can talk about it later, but we have lots of countries from, well, we have a lot of data providers from Iran, from certain countries where I'm not sure what is the status, China.
Thinking is the other way around, that the research you get from AGRIS to their own records information.
Can they integrate it in their ORCID profile?
Yeah, from now on this is going to be possible, but this is not the ideal. They can tell us, but this is a little bit unsustainable. The problem with the issue would be that the libraries, those that are managing repositories, they have tools that allow them to export the data using the identifiers, the common identifiers. I don't know how to do it with OIDC.
I can show you because they will be able to collect information directly from AGRIS into their records.
And then you'll be
You know what?
Yes.
No. No, because this is.
Interact with the IR as institution.
If you can interact with the institution, it's fine. But I suppose this is the reason why yesterday, in the group that I was, we were defining this thing about management of metadata versus exporting metadata. Because in some cases, they could integrate identifiers in their systems, but they are not exporting it. Some cases, they cannot integrate identifiers, and therefore they cannot export it, and et cetera, et cetera. So, no, but it's not me. I mean, it's about providing, because, for instance, this is a discussion we had with this space. It's not by default in this space that comes integration and the export. So you have to cook it, yeah, and therefore there are sometimes organizations that if they don't receive an email saying you should do that, they set up this space and they didn't think about it. Yeah. Yeah, but this is the point, is that you have to integrate the app, no? And sometimes people might not think about it in certain countries. While it would be very useful if this space can have this app integrated, you know what I mean? But what I'm trying to say is that I think that there is an issue, not about you guys, but I think that there is probably sometimes a lack of perception of the fact that you can manage very rich metadata in your system and then to export a little bit. Or you can export everything or whatever. But because in 20 years we have, in the repository world, we have been in a way convinced that we have to use what is out of the box from the repository software. And many organizations didn't add not a single metadata field to this space or ePrints or whatever, nothing, no? Because they said, okay, I install this space. But then the metadata that they have been creating for 20 years was very poor. No? And then when you start speaking to them and saying, you could add another metadata field here, you can enrich this, they say, oh, but this is not there. What I mean is that it's important to make clear to the people that you can enrich the backend, not necessarily affecting the customization of this space, doesn't have anything to do, or ePrints or whatever, and then you can do the export as you wish.
Second question is about the policy of AGRIS in Cuba. We have some universities here with agriculture faculties and such things like that. Maybe what I understand there is a specific approach. Maybe it's interesting for them to
funny.
They can be part of themselves, or I understood that it has to be an organization, not
Yes.
the faculty, for example.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So Cuba is, funny enough, the country that is the country with more data providers in the region. But we cannot harvest data because there are limitations technically speaking, so we are not really, we cannot. And this is the reason why I'm here, apart of the fact that they have, so it was a kind of crash. I put my event, which is going to happen on Monday and Tuesday, really after Mark's and Phoebe's, because then I could attend here and to support the project. But this is, so we have issues, technically speaking, probably the network in Cuba, I'm not sure. And therefore we came and to talk and to data providers to understand better how FAO can support these processes. And we have about 60 people invited Monday and Tuesday, thanks to Yohannis. So she's our host in the University of La Habana, and that's it. So, but we have 10 data providers. Yeah.
I don't know in Paraguay you have faculty
Pinar del Rio definitely is one, but we are having issues to harvest as well. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much.
Then let's go with Rafael's presentation, okay? Now we are going to see a similar perspective, I mean, in the same topic of interoperability and external interoperability with from our project and Sceiba project at the same time, okay?
Primero había una presentación que hacía autor de este sistema, así que está bastante sencilla, pero bueno.
Ajá, ¿y esa quién la hace?
Éramos Amed y yo.
Ah, ok, sí, como usted quiera.
It's really
It's left, right, and middle point. Left, right, point.
So, basically, en español, esta presentación tiene que ver con los sistemas de autoridad de las instituciones. Entonces, las opciones o los recursos que existen en Cuba. Hicimos una breve recopilación. Ajá. Entonces, voy a explicar algunas y Amed me ayudan, o sea, paso para nosotros. En primer lugar, tenemos la ficha del ciudadano, de información oficial o de los ciudadanos, ciudadanía. Aquí el detalle es que el acceso a este okay.
But still it's simply to control if it's okay.
Bueno, entonces la información de ciudadanía está en la ficha del ciudadano. Aquí el detalle es que el acceso a este sistema es restringido porque ahí está toda la información, desde información del Ministerio del Interior o los militares, todo está ahí. Y el acceso debe ser a un nivel bastante, o sea, la aprobación del acceso a esta plataforma, que para lo que sirve es para chequear, digamos, la autoridad persona, es bastante complicado. La otra que tenemos es la Oficina Nacional de Estadística, que es una entidad que es la que lleva la información estadística de la economía en Cuba, y ellos publican la información oficial también sobre las organizaciones, las entidades en general. Nosotros en el proyecto hemos trabajado con los datos que vienen ahí, que publica la ONED con respecto a la información de organizaciones, que por supuesto no la publican usando ningún tipo de estándar, simplemente publican un documento Excel con todas las organizaciones, pero es la entidad que tiene esa lista oficial de todas las entidades económicas, gubernamentales que existen en Cuba, porque se dedican a manejar la información económica de esas entidades.
El otro sistema de autoridad del mundo en Cuba es el de la Biblioteca Nacional.
Estos catálogos primero no están disponibles no son públicos, por tanto, no se puede hacer ningún proceso de catalogación a partir de ellos porque no son públicos. Están en fichas de cartón y algunas están digitalizadas a manera de foto. Este catálogo tiene básicamente el autor, o sea, la entrada principal del autor con su fecha de nacimiento o muerte y las publicaciones que tienen asociadas a cada autor. Existe un catálogo nacional que está en la Biblioteca Nacional y cada biblioteca provincial tiene su catálogo propio con los autores de la provincia. Otro sistema que también existe es el catálogo de las publicaciones seriadas cubanas, que registra las publicaciones seriadas cubanas, o sea, abiertas o cerradas, con su fecha de inicio y todos los números o volúmenes asociados a ella. El CIGMA, el CIGMA es el Ministerio de Ciencia, Tecnología y Medio Ambiente de Cuba y el IBI es el Instituto de Documentación e Información Científica y Tecnológica. Están desarrollando en estos momentos un proyecto que se llama Ciencia Cuba y en él comienzan a establecer pautas o metodologías mucho más eficientes para el control de las autoridades, a partir de un grupo de elementos como son entidades de ciencia, programas de ciencia, proyectos, publicaciones, categorías científicas, personas que se enlazarían en este caso con la ficha del ciudadano. Otro elemento importante, otra posibilidad, es lo que está haciendo el mismo proyecto Sceiba, que en un momento Rafael ya va a profundizar en él, sobre el reconocimiento de las personas y las organizaciones a partir de sistemas de autoridad. Este es el panorama nacional hasta ahora. O sea, ¿qué está faltando? Primero, uniformidad en la descripción. Segundo, la falta de lineamientos para el authority control en el país. No hay normas para hacerlo. Yo puedo controlarlo de una manera y usted de otra. Por tanto, si eso no ocurre de manera uniforme, habrá un alto coste en la catalogación. Y generalmente nosotros en Cuba no hablamos de coste de catalogación porque es que nunca lo hemos asumido. Y sabemos que es costosa y cuando ocurren estos procesos no se puede controlar las autoridades. Y lo otro que sucede es la ausencia quizás de un proceso a nivel de las instituciones que tienen que ver con esto que permita que Cuba tenga sus catálogos de autoridad. No, mi sugerencia, o sea, nuestra visión es que debería conformarse por la Biblioteca Nacional el catálogo de autoridades cubanas porque es quien tiene la obligación de hacerlo. Y revisando por la mañana las cosas que hacía, la Biblioteca Nacional, por ejemplo, sigue usando el local, que es una fuente secundaria. Por tanto, hay cuestiones que hay que normar desde el punto de vista metodológico porque la perspectiva que tenemos son muchas fuentes aisladas que no están integradas. Y esta dispersión le corresponde, o sea, esta dispersión lleva como solución de que la Biblioteca Nacional o los ministerios asociados a todas estas fuentes resuelvan el problema. Hasta ahí las cuestiones de los sistemas de autoridad de personas. Ahora, con respecto a los tesauros, a los vocabularios, que también es parte del control de autoridad, igual existe dispersión. Ciencias Médicas utiliza el DEX, Descriptor en Ciencias de la Salud, que es una versión latina del MESH. Algunas entidades que se especializan en agricultura utilizan el AGRIS, pero el resto sigue utilizando la lista de encabezamientos de materias de la Biblioteca del Congreso. Sí, sí, absoluto, pero es así. Inclusive en formato impreso. Por tanto, esto también complica el proceso de la descripción, complica la interoperabilidad y complica también el proceso de recuperación de información. No se puede interpretar el mismo señal semántica por detrás, no hay relaciones paradigmáticas por detrás. Y, por supuesto, una lista de encabezamientos de materia no permite eso, o sea, a un nivel muy bajo. Esas son las condiciones que mismo tenemos en Cuba. sea, que es un programa que lleva normalización, que lleva estandarización y que lleva construir para lograr incluso que haya control de autoridad. Hoy mismo en Cuba, ese proceso no existe. Gracias.
Preguntas.
Si hay alguna pregunta, tengo un...
No. Tiene de los años 60 que en papel. Es de pago y no la tienen. O sea, tienen las antiguas, las del 64.
Dije, al final es la Biblioteca Nacional que debe de hacerlo. Pienso que es una opción, pero pienso que en Sceiba hay una otra opción basada sobre la experiencia, por ejemplo, en Flandria. En Flandria, por ejemplo, son simplemente las universidades que trabajan unidos con el ministerio. Desarrollan en 10-15 años un sistema FIS, Flanders Research Information System. En Bélgica también la Biblioteca Nacional no es una organización que va a ayudar en esto. Es bien de pensar que las universidades, con el ministerio, Sigma deben pensar a esta. Pienso que como en la UCL usando VIAF, es una otra cosa. Pero no, debería usar VIAF de España o de México al final. Pienso que como vimos ayer, ahora, porque pienso que ahora en Cuba no hay una forma de autoridades en forma electrónica. No, simplemente son mis comentarios. Yo probablemente Yohannis puede.
Aun cuando a nivel nacional no tenemos políticas ni procedimientos establecidos para el catálogo de autoridades, creo que sí, a nivel de instituciones, podemos pautar el trabajo sobre este tema. Por ejemplo, en la Universidad de La Habana, en los sistemas nuevos que estamos desarrollando, algunos que ya tenemos implementados, como el Open Journal System, promovemos el uso de vocabularios controlados. En el caso, por ejemplo, de las revistas dedicadas a las ciencias económicas, se usa el código GEL. Hay otros recursos para la descripción de fotografías y tal, donde por la naturaleza de la biblioteca y de la universidad es multidisciplinaria, utilizamos el tesauro de UNESCO. Por tanto, yo creo que no debemos esperar a que haya a nivel nacional una normativa, sino que nosotros desde las instituciones podemos empezar a dar pasos que puedan acelerar el proceso cuando ya tengamos esas normativas, pero siempre en el marco de la interoperabilidad. Si no, estaremos en el paso anterior a la existencia del proyecto OLINFER, cuando teníamos unos formatos que en las descripciones de los sistemas bibliotecarios no eran interoperables. De todas maneras, aquí me comentaba Amed, ciertamente por ley le corresponde a la Biblioteca Nacional dictar esas políticas a nivel nacional, pero yo creo que si mostramos casos de éxito y de buenas prácticas desde las instituciones, podemos acelerar un poco ese proceso de creación de la política nacional.
¿Alguna otra pregunta?
Inmediatamente encerrar con tu presentación.
Ya. Bueno, muchas gracias. Gracias.
No. Yes. ¿Tienes tu presentación? Sceiba, ¿en dónde also believe. It's good to see how people use open formats. It's good to see that people are using open format. The only disadvantage is that we are using a proprietary operating system, which is really bad. We are talking about openness, at the same time we are using inclusive operating system. We have to tell that to my university. I'm not allowed to use other things at the university.
Así. I will say, excuse me. It's okay now? Okay, I will try to speak better. Entonces, bueno, les voy a presentar algunas de las ideas fundamentales en torno a Sceiba, de la cual han escuchado en estos días. Y Sceiba terminó hace prácticamente un año, fue en agosto del 2022, y voy a terminar contándoles cómo hemos seguido un año después funcionando como proyecto y cómo hemos proyectado la continuidad de Sceiba. Sceiba comenzó como un proyecto joint del BIR en el 2019. Estaba previsto para hacer un proyecto de 3 años. Debido a la COVID, logramos una extensión de un año más, pero eso terminó en el 2022. Participando 6 universidades, de las cuales las líderes eran la Universidad de Hasselt y la Universidad de Louvain. También dentro de esas 6 universidades habían 2 universidades peruanas. ¿Cuál es el objetivo de Sceiba? Sceiba se enfocó en contribuir al mejoramiento de la calidad de las publicaciones científicas cubanas, tomando como contexto la ausencia de una base de datos nacional donde estuviesen concentradas todas las publicaciones científicas hechas por cubanos en Cuba. Y entre las otras razones era la gran diversidad de sistemas que se usaban para hacer accesible estas publicaciones. Muchas de ellas son sistemas que se desarrollaron a nivel local sin considerar aspectos de interoperabilidad y en muchos casos no se comunicaban entre ellos. También cuando surge Sceiba ya existía el INF, por tanto, desde el principio, Marc tuvo la visión de hacer que estos 2 proyectos colaboraran entre sí y contribuyéramos mutuamente al cumplimiento de ambos proyectos. Por supuesto que nos planteamos desde el principio el uso de tecnologías libres y el fortalecimiento de capacidades en temas de comunicación científica. Dado este objetivo, nos establecimos 3 líneas de trabajo fundamentales. Una, el desarrollo de políticas para el mejoramiento de esas publicaciones científicas, específicamente con un foco hacia los temas de evaluación, el desarrollo de directrices para la aplicación de esa política, que incluye una metodología, un procedimiento de evaluación, y el desarrollo de herramientas y servicios, para lograr entonces que Sceiba pudiese desarrollar un sistema centralizado a nivel nacional que facilitara el monitoreo y evaluación de las publicaciones científicas. Esencialmente, nuestro principal cliente, Ministerio de Educación Superior, pues la política va orientada a las instituciones subordinadas directamente al Ministerio de Educación Superior. Es una política en la cual se establece un conjunto de elementos que permiten generar información relevante, oportuna y confiable que realmente contribuya al desarrollo de una estrategia nacional que sea sostenible para el desarrollo de la calidad de las publicaciones científicas, sobre todo considerando que muchas veces cuando se instauran sistemas de evaluación de la investigación y específicamente dentro de ella, de las publicaciones científicas, se generan determinados efectos indeseados que constantemente hay que estar monitoreando. Y en la política, esencialmente, nos concentramos en que estuviesen visibles los principios de la ciencia abierta, del acceso abierto y de los datos abiertos de investigación. Esta política se desarrolló esencialmente considerando la situación actual a nivel nacional. Se hicieron varios estudios donde se identificó esencialmente dónde se encontraba o en qué % estaba la publicación de resultados de investigación en revistas nacionales y en revistas internacionales. Se identificó hábitos de publicación de los investigadores y también se hizo un diagnóstico de los principales sistemas utilizados en las instituciones de educación superior universitaria. En general, establecimos un conjunto de responsabilidades, de atribuciones. Dentro de esa política se definieron también conceptos claves y se identificó que los resultados de investigación debían ser públicos, que había que proteger los datos que eran clasificados y personales, que los resultados de investigación debían ser facilitados a las autoridades nacionales competentes sobre el tema, que se debía promover el uso abierto y la facilidad de acceso a los metadatos para contribuir a la transparencia en la evaluación de las publicaciones científicas, y se consideraron también algunos elementos que tienen que ver con la gobernanza de los datos que se manejan para la evaluación de las publicaciones científicas. En el caso de la línea de trabajo del desarrollo de las herramientas, se generó una plataforma con múltiples herramientas dentro y concebida como un espacio de trabajo para la gestión de la información sobre los resultados de investigación científica. Se tomaron en consideración estándares internacionales y también se consideraron el uso de identificadores persistentes, la estandarización de los diferentes campos considerados en el modelo de datos. se desarrollaron publicaciones sobre el tema de la arquitectura y la calidad de los metadatos a manejar dentro del sistema. Aquí esencialmente se muestran las diferentes herramientas desarrolladas dentro de Sceiba, donde se utiliza mucha tecnología FOSS, ahí incluso falta Moodle. Ahora, un año después, incluso lo consideramos desde la propia concepción del proyecto, nos propusimos que Sceiba fuera un proyecto que trascendiera el momento en el que terminara el financiamiento ULIR. Por eso, desde el principio, pensamos la posibilidad de continuar aplicando a fondos para mantener la vida del proyecto y al tercer año, aplicamos, casi cuando pensábamos que ya iba a terminar el financiamiento ULIR, aplicamos a una convocatoria de proyectos de investigación nacional y obtuvimos financiamiento de un programa nacional de investigación del Ministerio de Educación Superior y le ha dado esta sostenibilidad financiera a Sceiba. Gracias a esta sostenibilidad financiera hemos logrado dar continuidad también a, digamos, el impacto y el mejoramiento de los resultados obtenidos de Sceiba. Por tanto, acá hemos logrado que seguir estableciendo interacción con posibles usuarios de los productos de Sceiba. Hemos continuado promoviendo cuáles son los beneficios, las bondades, las posibilidades futuras de implementación de Sceiba. Dentro de esa sostenibilidad comunitaria, proyectamos un plan de socialización que iba más allá de agosto del 2022 y hemos realizado diferentes talleres. El último que desarrollamos fue el primer simposio de ciencia abierta hace aproximadamente 15 días, pero hemos hecho talleres de gestión de investigación, hemos hecho actividades de charlas, seminarios con investigadores, promoviendo los principales aspectos claves dentro de la política del proyecto. También nos hemos ocupado dentro de esta dimensión de sostenibilidad del proyecto de establecer relaciones con otros proyectos, como el proyecto Ciencia en Cuba del Ministerio de Educación Superior, con otras instituciones, no solo nacionales, sino también internacionales, cuyas relaciones de intercambio surgieron durante la ejecución del proyecto Sceiba, con otras iniciativas regionales y con un proyecto que tiene el propio Ministerio de Educación, que va orientado a la transformación digital del Ministerio de Educación Superior. Y de estas cosas han resultado algunos elementos que todavía están en discusión. Hoy ya hay una primera versión de una resolución donde se consideran los elementos de Sceiba. Se propone que se emplee las herramientas de Sceiba. No se las puedo mostrar, pero todavía no es pública, ni siquiera ha llegado a la fase de la consulta, pero ya hay un primer borrador donde la iniciativa ha sido tomada desde el propio ministerio y esta resolución va hacia la unificación de los diferentes casos de uso en los que se emplea la evaluación de las publicaciones científicas, entiéndase, para el cambio de categoría docente, para la promoción de categorías docentes, para la obtención de grados científicos como el doctorado, para la evaluación de las instituciones y para la evaluación del personal investigador. Eso es uno de los últimos resultados, digamos, de los más frescos que estamos teniendo con la continuidad de Sceiba. Desde el punto de vista organizacional, gracias también al financiamiento, hemos logrado mantener el equipo cohesionado y esto ha sido posible incluso que el equipo que inició con Sceiba en el 2019 se haya podido expandir e incorporar a nuevos miembros y nos ha permitido proyectar una hoja de ruta más allá del 2022. Una hoja de ruta que continúa expandiendo el tema de las políticas, los procedimientos, tanto a nivel nacional como institucional, orientada al desarrollo y mejoramiento de las herramientas de Sceiba, que nos permita escalar esa versión inicial que se concentra solamente en las revistas científicas hacia otras tipologías de publicaciones científicas, como son las memorias de congreso, las presentaciones en congreso, los proyectos, las patentes. Y en esto, por supuesto, no podemos olvidar el tema de la formación de capacidades. En síntesis, un poco lo que les quería compartir sobre esta experiencia de cómo le hemos dado continuidad a un proyecto más allá de el término establecido por el financiamiento que le dio vida. Muchas gracias.
Entiendo presentar la plataforma y después si hay.
So, yes. So I am talking about Sceiba, also Sceiba project, but the platform, the perspective of the technology perspective. First, Yohannis already, do you prefer in Spanish? Yohannis already talked about the policies and the methodologies and the future of the project. I'm going to talk about the tools of Sceiba, the platform. First of all, at general level, we have this approach of collect, transforms, store and expose the different information. We have this concept of primary sources and secondary sources, and in a pipeline to transform the raw data to clean the sampling weight and the duplication of the different entities. So the general idea of the tools is using this schema, and around this schema we work in different entities. Right now we are working with organizations, persons. We have a system of vocabularies, and we have the directory of journals of the Ministry of Higher Education. from the perspective of the vocabulary, we publish this system of management of the control vocabularies we are using. Regarding the tools, we are using Cosmos to publish the vocabularies and workbench to edit vocabularies. So, Sceiba organizations is a system of identification of organization. We already done the part of collect all the information from the official registry from the National the National Office of Information and Statistics. We also collect information of Cuban organizations from ROR. And we have inside this system of identification of organization, we have tools to identify the organization using persistent identifiers like ROR and connect the external identifiers to the internal identifiers used in Cuba, because ONA gives all the organizations identifiers, and we are mapping inside this tool the internal identifiers to external. And also we have this tool of disambiguation, because as we collect information from ONA and from other sources, sometimes the information is duplicate, so we need this tool to disambiguate, to merge different organizations. And of course, I'm telling that we use persistent identifiers. Similarly, we develop the same for persons, basically for person. There is a system for identification of person. Basically, it's a registry where you can put the information about the researchers and connect the different persistent identifiers. So we collect information from, or develop tools to collect information from human resource systems. Sometimes or always, the human resource systems in Cuba are like black box silos of information, so we need to transform that information and link it there. And of course, the profile that we are developing use ORCID as a primary identifier, but you can add to the profiles any identifiers. Revistas MES is the Yohannis said that the Ministry of Higher Education is our primary stakeholder. So the Revistas MES is an application that uses the identification systems. So in Revistas MES, we have the list of, basically the list of the journals, the Cuban journals of the Ministry of Higher Education, but it's linked to the system of persons and the system of organization. And of course also use the control vocabularies that we are publishing using the other part of the system. It's intend to work as a national registry. So this is basically, we have also other system for evaluation, and also we have a system for capacity building, the model, also a model there. Basically, this is summarizing the landscape of what we are been doing in the last 4 or 5 years. So, thank you.
Maybe you can also a little bit platform you're using?
Okay. So I said that regarding to control vocabularies, we are using Cosmos and Workbench, but everything else is inside an Benoit platform. The organizations, the persons, and also the publications, of course, are part of the Benoit platform that we develop, not in Benoit, it's in Benoit as a framework, not the finished product. We add records for, we have a catalog of the primary source that we collect the documents, and also we have an organization and person as another record inside Benoit. And as Yohannis says, in the future we plan to go to another, using the same platform, but to go to another entities to cover the entire research area, looking at standards like serif. So at least trying to cover all these entities. But the main idea is that trying to solve the problem of collecting the information and link it inside, and later publish to improve the quality of the information in the community, the Cuban community in general.
But you have to develop on top of the framework. Yes.
Yes, we develop on top of the framework in Benoit, and we have specific scripts and specific development to address the problems, the specific problems we have here. For instance, the National Office of Statistics and Information, as I said later, they don't publish the official list of institutions. They are not published in any standard. Basically, it's yes, but not using any interoperable format. So we basically are trying to solve these details. The tools to ingest the information. So if anyone have a question, me and my team. And
how large is your team at the moment?
Well, we have like 10 developers. Counting students and professors, we have right now 10 developers. We managed to keep the team working, trying to using the students, but also trying to apply to different projects. So it's not easy. It's not easy. I don't know. Maybe in other parts, but in Cuba, it's not easy to keep a team of developers in the same together for a long time. We are trying. Yeah. Yes. The main thing that is developing the tools is the University of Pinar del Rio. We are a department inside the Department of Software Development inside the library of the university. Officially, we have that role.
Are other universities going to copy this project, or are you going to share this development with other universities?
Yes. Yes. So the idea is to maintain this website, but all our developments are open source. So anyone can do whatever. And of course, yes.
is not to deploy each of these tools in each Cuban institution.
The approach is national.
We are taking into account the context, and in Cuba, not all universities have the same infrastructure or the same IT strength to develop that.
Do you know if someone else has used in other universities somewhere?
Using the access, you mean the software codes or the tools? I believe yes. The services, I believe.
We don't have still the counter,
But
to check
yes.
the logs.
Where,
Doesn't know who is
Yes, normally
you say it's open source, where you share it, but
Yes, it's here. Everything is there for good and bad instead.
you're not linking to the
That is, no, in fact, they have our system as one of the showcases. But there is still, we have work to do in that direction because we we're using Benoit in our special way, a little bit different, but
you have surely tools that are existing for other organizations.
yes.
What do we do? First the copy and then? Otherwise they need to break up the lunch between only 25 minutes between them. It's easier to go from the coffee break now. Yes. So we propose to have a break, to have a coffee, and then everybody can think a little bit and have some remarks or everybody's too tired.
Okay, let's go for the coffee break now, okay? Otherwise, the coffee break and the lunch will be too close each other, okay? Well, let's go. We did a small change in the program because we have unfortunately nearly an hour of delay. Okay, and then we have also the lunch an hour earlier. Regularly the lunch is at 1:30, and today it will be at 12:30. Okay, then we only have from right now 70 minutes from now. Okay, then we have to be very, very good manager with the time. And then we will have, after lunch, a time for the group discussion. Then we will go now with the expert panel. And unfortunately also, we have no representation today of the UNESCO, because UNESCO at the beginning said that there will be someone online for that expert panel. I don't know if that person went during the last hour, but maybe because we have an hour of delay and maybe the person entered and then went out. Okay, but okay. Because I sent yesterday the same link for the GIXI meeting also to Elena, because Elena requested me.
But is it this person?
It is a fellow GIXI without identification. No, it's someone from abroad. It have to be a name that it's not usual in Cuba. It's not his name, it's not that name. The Y names in Cuba, it was a time in Cuba, it was an age in Cuba of Y initial letters on the names, okay? Actually, we have a lot here. Okay, let's go for the panel session. For that panel session, we plan at the beginning Imma, Valentina, Anna, Benoit also as members of this panel. However, as we did yesterday, let's go everybody to the tables in front. And I leave always the expert panel organization to Mark, okay? He's better than me in this part of the seminar. The experts already looked at the presentations we did from our perspective on both projects, OLINFER project and Sceiba project. And taking into account that the authorities representing all of the partner universities are leaving after lunch because they have their transportation to the provinces in the afternoon, except in Andesio. I also propose, Mark, that after the expert panel, or the expert that will give us their opinions, to also have the opinions of the authorities of the universities related with all the things they have been looking at during those days, okay? And if they want to share some comments, some opinions related with the work done by both projects, by OLINFER and Sceiba, okay? That's why I'm telling all the representatives of the partner universities that we will give you some time at the end before going lunch to want to share with the audience, okay? Then it will be good if
Yes, I will immediately. So today we talk more about interoperability on a larger scale than the institutional scale, and surely Cuba, the Sceiba project is very relevant. It is, to be clear, because there was some confusion, Sceiba is really a national project. It's not also the platform is designed for bringing together national information to support on national level. It has also, in my opinion, implications on institutional level, but I think on that level we can hear your opinions, what you want, what you think is relevant. Also, I think the presentation of Imma about the approach how to bring information together in an international system can also be relevant. Okay, your opinion, and you know, opinion and also some questions that we can work on. Who wants to start? Benoit. Benoit. You have it.
So, first of all, if I can ask something, because we have talked about in the group discussion here yesterday, we have talked about VIAF, but I have not seen this point in the actions, and I'm convinced it's really something you have to do. So if I can ask you to add this point in the actions, it's very important. So you need to reconciliate your routers, even if you start from data in your ABCD system, you have to reconciliate your router and organization in your data today with VIAF, and you will gain in quality. That said, just to yes, another point about we discussed at the coffee break about the Sceiba project and the fact it's a national project. I would like to discuss a bit about the REO project, because it's why we are here. I think it should be also a national project. You don't need to install REO in each institution. You can install only one instance of REO and share this instance between all institutions in the country. So I don't know why you did for the research platform. It seems some institution have installed DSpace, other institution installed Vivo, and now you have the Sceiba project, which is national. That's a good point, but I think for REO you need really a national vision. Don't try to work in your on your side, being with specific detail or specific needs. Try to find a national way to do things. That's my point of view.
So I think also it's a little bit hidden in your remark, but in the end, what you also about research, information management, there is a need on a sort of national coordination, local information, and related to Sceiba. We know about that issue, but okay, this is surely a question point to discuss, I think.
From my point of view, if I can explain that, don't lose your energy to do local things. Okay, you can work together. That's it should be my final remarks of this afternoon. Work together using the same tools. Otherwise you will spend time and money to things stuff locally with different tools. If you can gain time and money, work together. That's it.
Thank you, Benoit.
So from my side, I don't think there's much more than I can really add. Echoing what Benoit said, don't try to customize systems and platforms locally at the institution. I was talking also with Yohannis, and I mean, the reality is that right now, today, there are different platforms, different systems in every institution. So maybe for thinking about this in the future is, well, we know research is incremental. Data, we have more data each time. So we need to find the right tool. We need to find infrastructure that supports that data, and the ideal scenario would be, of course, that these tools are mainly open, global, and try to find policies and standards. We talk at the very beginning of these sessions about policies, about standards. Don't try to reinvent the wheel, maybe just go with what there's out there, like the UNESCO recommendations for open science. Try to find policies and guidelines that apply also in your local aspect. Again, trying to highlight the importance of using persistent identifiers that are open, that are interoperable. Then it's quite important. This is a must everywhere. And what else can I say? I don't have really questions here, just as we said yesterday, maybe just a food for thoughts on what you think you need connections. Also, talking about institutions, we've been talking about the ministry, so it's important for you to get them involved. And I think that's, I don't know if there's a question.
No, I think I will pick out one aspect anyway. You talk about the identifiers, and I think we have Sceiba has a sort of national platform, how this can relate to what university is doing. That is surely a point to work on and to discuss maybe here, to how you use the standards developed in Sceiba on the university level.
Yeah, and I've seen, just in addition to that, I've seen the use of the ORCID IDs, I've seen the use of ROR, but I think you're missing one important part, to just handle, I think, but still there are DOIs or other identifiers that can be used for funding, for example, fund ref IDs, they are still there. Right for projects, I was talking with Osvaldo the first day, and there are also specific identifiers for projects called RIDE. So there are lots of, identifiers that are persistent, that are resolvable, and that you can use because they are also interoperable, and take into account also who is issuing this type of identifiers. Check that those are open, check that the organization issuing these identifiers is sustainable. So.
Well, I think I don't think it's always a top-down, because, for example, ROR will describe organizations on a high level, and so that's not good enough for the universities. So on that level, still, and we talk about structures, about standards on that level, we need to discuss in both ways. Because on the university level, you have fluctuating organizations of faculties, departments, research groups, and so on, and how to translate that from the local to the national level, for example. So you see, that's also the reason why sometimes we talk about vivos, where you can go more deeply in your local organization, but even then you need to have a balance between both. So I think about the relation between Sceiba standards and institutional standards, that we can have, surely we can have a look at it.
Yeah, so my contribution in this sense, it's a little bit sharing the experience of my organization within the context of AGRIS. So for example, my organization is one of the data provider that is sending data to AGRIS. And so at the moment, what we are taking care of is, and it was also one point that emerged today, it was like, make sure that your data in your repository are of good quality, that they are curated, that between all of our repository CGIAR, they are harmonized, we are using a common language, we are using standard, and then you take care of exposing these data to external providers. And in the case of AGRIS, we are working on the OAI PNH endpoint to send the data, and we are also moving from like a doubling course or IDC to a richer metadata format. In this case, it's mods that, for example, accommodate also like ORCID and many more metadata. So we are kind of working towards enriching our metadata, and then by sending data to databases such as AGRIS, that allows to give visibility to our research product, and on top of being part of a network, the fact that we are, AGRIS is able to harvest our data and make it also on Google Scholar, makes our research more accessible, more findable. And also I wanted to add also a brief story specifically about ICARDA. So my organization originally was in Syria, in Aleppo, and during the war, the headquarters had to relocate. And during this, a lot of documents were lost. And we realized that in the 70s, many documents were already sent to AGRIS when AGRIS started in 1975. And we are now going back to this record in AGRIS and finding all the legacy data. So I was thinking also, if your organization has already thought about the benefit of having data into other databases, into other systems, and how that not just will give visibility to your data, but also help the sustainability of your data over time. And that it's, just my 2 cents.
I will pick up one aspect, which is in fact that you need some rules, between the organization and the central point. So
yes.
A discussion about the policy, the guidelines that a Sceiba or a national organization can ask to the partners, because otherwise you will not have the right metadata. You will not have the right information.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
I would like to pick out, and it's not only about publication in this case. Here, it's about the whole research infrastructure.
Yeah. No, I think it's a very good point. And it's like actually making sure that when you're sending data, then these are the metadata that are important for the database. And
you need a policy on that.
Yeah, you need guidance, you need policy.
You need a policy on the Cuban on the Cuban level. And who will be taking care of that? That's a discussion. In Flanders, it's always a discussion between the universities and the ministry in the end. Huh? And there are some universities who has to pick it out. That's simple. Hmm?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, my 2 cents are quite, I think that most of the things have been said. Just from my understanding, as Valentina was mentioning, any work that is done in terms of interoperability to external sources is because you want to give more visibility to what is being produced. In Cuba, data you describe, data tools you use, most probability you get to get more accesses to what is being produced, more citations, and more visibility. It's not mathematic, but it helps quite substantially. Otherwise, you get into silos, that's clear. Now, and the second thing I wanted to mention is what Yohannis was mentioning before. This is something that showed up yesterday during our discussions in the group I was. It's this top-down approach versus bottom-up approach. And we were a little bit ambivalent at a certain point. We were even putting in the PowerPoint or the PDF, whatever, to target the National Library, but we were as well saying that a bottom-up approach, a top-down approach. No. Yes, so from, yes, but exactly what you said, Yohannis, is the way that is sometimes the way to go, because it's going to be very difficult to move certain structures if you don't show that this can happen. So I fully agree on this kind of attitude. I think that you have already the tools. You have very good tools, and you have the infrastructure already created. So I think it's essentially a matter now to populate things in a kind of systematic and a standardized way to make sure that people outside of Cuba can make use of this information and to access to your research production. So, but I think it's a kind of natural process right now, right? So.
It's a process that takes years. It's not in 1 year that you resolve everything. It's in Flanders they start with the publications, and it took 5 years before it was you got an agreement. But then the agreement is then once you get an agreement, it's top down, and then everybody has to follow that agreement. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
So, how much to show statistics about the usage of certain research outputs could support certain, this is a question for you.
Statistics in
so
hearing.
No, I mean, because, so when you show that something, you put a document on the web and has been visualized, not sure about use, but visualized 1 million times, this is, as a matter of fact, an indicator. So this is an indicator that is usually, at least in my institution or my environment, very interesting for policymakers. So when we didn't, I don't remember about speaking about indicators. So
Manuel, about the repository, do you have your it's a full text repository completely, I think, right? So, and the statistics, how are they at the moment? Do you have your? UCLouvain is the most performant at the moment. They have.
All of the 95% are full text. Because we have 5% description and the value some research that are not available. And about the user statistic, for example, we are focusing on checking from more countries people are accessing. For example, the USA is our first business. And after
Did you include the crowders? Did you exclude the crowders? The crowders, the Google, the bots and so on, because
I'm not sure about that because the data
that makes it a big difference.
but we are receiving visitors from USA, is the first, and Europe, French, Spain. Russia is not the most important visitor for GDP. Mexico, for Latin America. Now is around 20, 25 different countries every month. And also we are checking the visitor inside the UCLouvain, and it's a very dispersed numbers because all the faculty are visiting our story and taking information from all the activities, all the important research.
So for Sceiba, we don't have yet statistics. Eh? That's an important aspect.
But also, for example, in one university, we checked the impact of the introduction of open journal system as a platform for managing scientific journals in the university. And we see in the scholars the increase of citations after the introduction of open journal system as platform for journals. Also, for example, in the times that we were introducing the repository, I used to make some talks to researchers, and I showed them the statistics of citations in our thesis and so on, and they could see, and that shows that people was more motivated to put its production in the repository. That's why I completely agree with Imma that it's important to show successful cases.
There is a particular situation here.
And maybe this is the moment to share between you, who are the experts and have experiences in another topics related with interoperability. And since the beginning in our project, we faced a very long list of issues and problems related with interoperability in Cuba, I mean, okay? I don't know if what I'm going to say, of course, is the perception of an IT specialist, okay? I'm not really an information sciences specialist. But I remember very well since 2013 when we started to work with ABCD, that most of the biggest problem we faced at that moment was the non-standardization of the workflow for libraries in Cuba. Okay, I don't know if you realize in the opinions that we just hear now that there is a very local perspective of the solutions. Okay, we have in Cuba, in higher education ministry, I mean, between our universities, most of the time we have two local conceptions of the information sciences management. Okay, and that situation is expressed in the tools we are using, because going back to Benoit's suggestion, to think, of course, in a more national level than local levels at the universities, that's why we are trying to get the decision-making people of the higher education ministry involved in that process, because otherwise we cannot move to a better situation than the one we are facing now. And from my perspective, I want the specialists in information sciences sitting here, maybe they can agree or disagree, okay? That's possible. But from my perspective, we have two main issues we need to solve. First of all, the standardization of the workflows we are using on libraries here in Cuba to be sure that the tools that will support those workflows are the same, because otherwise it doesn't matter the technology. If the workflows are not standardized and are the same, I mean in the context of higher education, when you introduce a tool, someone or a group of persons will agree that the new tool and the other group will disagree with that tool, because they will say that tool do not do what I need the tool to do, okay? But it has to be with the workflow, not exactly with the technology. And the second question or the second problem for us is the indicators. In the higher education ministry, we have nowadays an agreement with what are or which are the indicators we have to use to really evaluate science and research specifically. Then there are a list of indicators, but that list of indicators are changed by local universities depending on the information they wanted to know. And then if you want to have the data of the same indicators in all the universities of the country, that's not possible nowadays, okay? And actually, because most of the indicators are not really numbers, are more yes, it's more qualitative. Yes, thank you. Okay, then when you try to make a statistics of a lot of things in science, okay, in research, you say, okay, then, because it's a culture here in Cuba, okay, we try to a number, we try all the time to put an explanation of that number. And numbers speaks by themselves, okay? It's something that you cannot change, okay? If it is that number, it's that number, not other thing. So the number is a number and have a meaning itself, okay? You cannot change that. But in our case, most of the indicators are not so qualitative, okay? Are more qualitative, non quantitative, okay? And that's also a problem, because when we want to show if something is improving or not, and how is the behavior or anything, we fight. We found all the time these two problems, okay? Actually, right now, it's not only 10 years ago. Right now, it's the same. And we will face that. Every time we want to make a decision related with technology, we have the same problems, again, getting a lot of resistance to a change. And that's also one of the reasons why we want to go to the ministry and say, okay. And that's the reason why we understood very well your opinion of yesterday, to try to involve as much as universities as possible. That's why between the 5 pilot universities, we have UCLouvain, which is one of the oldest universities in the country. We have very good communication with the University of Havana, which is actually the oldest universities in Cuba, okay? And we only need to put again with us University of Oriente. We consider, actually we have the 4th biggest university in Cuba, which is Camagüey, is part of the partner universities. Then if we have the largest universities in the country involved in that project, okay? Then we thought that locally those universities can also do a very huge impact in the rest of the system. If we have those universities involved in the solution, then we can say that we will win the battle, if we can say that, okay? Because everybody else will be convinced, okay, if those universities are proposing that, that's it, that we can go the same way. But I wanted to clarify that, because anything in our project have been all the time taught
Something.
Yes. I hope I am allowed to still add one more element into the discussion. since I was an expert up to yesterday, I hope I am still an expert today.
No.
Okay, then, goodbye. No, but there was a suggestion to do things as much as possible in a centralized way. And Benoit's advice.
Centralized.
Well, it's, leave it for the discussion. That's not my point.
Centralized.
Another plea was for using open, persistent identifiers, like ORCID. I would like to add another advice from my point of view, which I actually already gave 10 years ago, which is to do things in an integrated way. This is what I learned also from the presentation on Sceiba, where now people want to add other information elements like projects, organizations, experts. And I think looking at the scene which is seemingly growing with Rero as a library system which uses in vivo technology, and in vivo already being used in the Sceiba context, I think that opens up the possibilities to do things in an integrated way, to do integrated information management. And that is something I would like to add into the discussion as my very last advice. As you might know, this is my last working day in Cuba. Thank you.
Okay. No, I think also that's what I proposed based on to look at the integrated approach, but also in another way, the university level with the national level. And okay, let's see what the discussion brings. But maybe you want also to react. Yes, but you have to react on something, or Yohannis? Oh, you keep it for the discussion in the groups later. Because otherwise the people also on the YouTube, it will not. Sorry, but
Just to add something about the indicators. In Cuba, we have the habit to report statistics, but no raw data. So that's a great problem to reuse and provide new indicators based on the same aspect, dimension, or function. That's a problem. So if you have raw data, you can recreate, reuse reports according to different situations. But we don't have that till now. That's, I think, that is, according to my point of view, the main issue, the main problem, to make good indicators and to provide good information based on indicator to take good decisions.
but also maybe you can tell about what the Sceiba project did on the guidelines about indicators. First, I'll leave it to you because you know you
Yes, according to guidelines, Sceiba guidelines, what we do was to establish responsibilities related to at what level should be ministry responsible on gathering data or establishing regulations, standards, and so on. And also we established another level of responsibility for institutions. At the same time, we establish the way that the institution and the ministry should have feedback on the data and how that information can be reused to make plans, strategies for the next period. Because, for example, in Cuba, we make evaluations annually, but based on the last year, only in the last year. And there is a very short period of time to have a real perception about the quality of scientific publications, about citations, even about production. For example, we suggested that it should be taken into account the promotion of the persistent identifiers.
And open access.
And open access, of course. It's explicitly written in the policies.
In a larger view than only Scopus or Web of Science.
Yes, very important you are. At the same time, we saw that the 80% of Cuban scientific production is published in Cuban journals. So if you make evaluations only based on Scopus Web of Science, you will miss a large part of the Cuban scientific production, and if you really want to say what is happening with Cuban scientific production, you need to see your own journals. That's why we included the suggestion of the topic in the policy to have a most wider view of evaluation source. And at the same time, we included a special part related to how to increase the quality of Cuban journals. The visibility and quality of Cuban journals. And also, we include a topic related to repositories, open access repositories, because it's a good strategy, not only for increasing visibilities, also for as a backup of our metadata, because we have faced a lot of technological disaster, and we lost a lot of data, national database, local database, and no way to get back that because it wasn't in any other place.
I think I see our vice rector very interested, so I think basically we have to talk more deeply with our vice rectors here on the topic as well.
I think that we need first request to the universities and to the minister all information and the data that we report every year from our universities. I think there are too much indicators, and it's the all scientific production and all impacts in the society, in our province and so on, but they are not available for or are not supplied, or we don't have in our university, for example, because we made tendency in the 5 years, every year this indicator how much papers we produce in the Web of Science or in the Cuban levels, and how much research was improving the life in the
in our province or so on. There are a lot of information there, but it's not available for the world or for the universities. We cannot compare with this or this university. This information only is in the ministry. They have, but it's not public. Maybe in the project of Sceiba or in other, we can, in this step that we need to give to the ministry, this, because there are good information there, and if it's available, you can say this is the tendence. So we do this information every year and we obtain all the reports or all the researchers, all professors or students, and we put in one file and everything is there. In the case of our university, we have a website that every person put the data, introduce the data of the publication of the aware or the projects. There are a lot of information, but we don't use this information for show to the world this information. I think in this way we need to work also, no? In this case. I was warning also because as far as I remember, our journal, Centro Agrícola, was in AGRIS. I will check why it's not now included or not, because we submit a lot of data for there, and we are contribution to the AGRIS, but I don't know right now what is the status of our journal there. But I think in the steps that we need to give to the university, to the ministry, also I think that as the project can give to some notes to the ministry. For the organization of this data in the country or in the university levels, maybe this is the software or the tool that we propose that is okay for that, and this will be organized by this university. Maybe as the project can give this suggestion to the ministry and say, maybe Mederos will be in Central University and our university in UCLouvain, and but every university access to that and put the data and so on, and not to be Iceland, and after that try to connect different systems and different things. I think in the role of the ministry would be very good to this also for Sceiba is in Havana, and every university or any institution need to connect to this. I think this is a good point also. So.
I have a question about the evaluation. That's a manual job. This 125 or to bring that information together.
In our university, I think around 90% is not by automatic, but the others you need to give some. It's a training process, but we have a software that we put this data and make the evaluation itself. But this is. We can extract the data from this, but we need to the access from the ministry. I think it's a good information. So also give some graphs, some figures, and you can see easy you are improving or you are going back or in this indicator, and this is possibility. But I repeat, the most important is try to get this information and put open Also to compare.
Yeah, also for compare, also for give a strategy. Or I have this indicator is going back with how I can improve this. I need to put money, or I need to put technology, or I need to send people for prepare for improve this. I think there are good knowledge in there, and it's possible to make a very good strategy according to this data. I have from my university, but maybe see checking the other universities. I am in the last of the point. I need to go faster in this indicator or in this group of indicators and so on. But it's not only for our process, also there are for postgraduate, also for degrees, also there are 8 processes, and each process have a lot of data.
So I have you here now, and Phil was also asking the vice directors to give you some feedback about what has been told in the last 3 days.
Mm-hmm. I think that the first is try to prepare a document to present to the ministry. Say with this point, no. In this point, I think the best way is this and this and this, because there are not. I think Grizzly told that there are not. Team for experts team in the ministry for made the police or made the strategy for the whole country, but the expert is the project. The project is the main expert, and give some feedback to the ministry, and maybe they can construct the indication or solutions or
only to the ministry, or also specifically involving all the 5 universities strongly?
The project have 5 or 8 universities involved. Is the opinion of the 8 university. I think it's a very good team of experts that can give this information. And maybe they can also send to the university and have feedback and so on. That's also possible. From my point of view, we are, I talked with the Grizzly, but the next meeting of our university, that will be the next Tuesday, we'll present the open science and all the tools that we are developing in the country, also in the university, and how will be the indication to the other faculties and so on for make better organization of that, because they show here a lot of things that we are doing and well, but not all faculties are very well prepared for contribution to this presentation and these tools that are running, and also for try to prepare and police for our university, and this is the indication and so on. And if our council is okay, we can also include the proposal, no? The regular hosting in the university and so on. All this can be approved on that if they present the next Tuesday in our council.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
It is gone, but there are 3 other vice rectors here. I understand. Can someone else also give some feedback from Camagüey or from I don't know or from Pinar?
Sorry, I will speak in Spanish, very slow. Yo creo que lo que hemos estado haciendo aquí en el taller estos 3 días es fundamental, sobre todo para ir trabajando en las cuestiones de la política, que nosotros tenemos que un poco quizás a partir de lo que se propuso como política de ciencia y educación abierta, un poco nosotros también quizás revisar en función de evaluar sobre todo bien el tema de los riesgos. Revisando las políticas, yo creo que están definidos un grupo de riesgos que aparecen ahí, que en el contexto del 2023, en la realidad del 2023 en Cuba, creo que nosotros deberíamos revisar e incluir otros riesgos, sobre todo con el tema de la capacidad de los recursos humanos para poder implementar el ecosistema, sobre todo de plataformas que incluye el IF en la universidad. Quizá un poco también, actualizar esto. Lo otro, yo creo que y hablando un poco también del proyecto de ciencia abierta, el tema en la etapa de sensibilización, yo creo que si nosotros alineamos y en las recomendaciones le incluimos al ministerio, es decir, todo lo que le va a aportar, sobre todo el tema de la interoperabilidad, a los resultados y metas que hoy tenemos como ministerio, va a ser un elemento fundamental que nos va a permitir que las instituciones un poco, se apoderen de todo lo que se está trabajando con el tema de la plataforma y de la implementación de la misma. Porque si hoy en día revisamos, nuestro ministerio tiene el incremento de cantidad de profesores, aumentar la cantidad de profesores con el ORCID, la cantidad de publicaciones, la cantidad de publicaciones en diferentes niveles. Y si yo creo que nosotros le demostramos, a partir de la implementación de lo que se quiere con Vivo, que realmente esta interoperabilidad lo que va a ayudar es que cada día existan más resultados en estas metas e indicadores del ministerio, nos va a ayudar a nosotros poder convencer y trabajar con las otras universidades que hoy en día no están en el proyecto. Yo creo que, como decía el vicerrector de Villa Clara, nos corresponde desde las instituciones miembros del proyecto impulsar estrategias hacia lo interno que un poco también les sirvan de experiencia a las demás universidades que que hoy en día no forman parte del proyecto. Porque indiscutiblemente a nosotros nos queda claro por todas las experiencias que existen en la universidad en el proyecto, pero cuando se vaya a implementar en otras universidades van a existir mucha resistencia al cambio, el por qué tengo que cambiar de plataforma, y creo que la esencia está en demostrar todo lo que le aporta la interoperabilidad de toda esta plataforma hacia las metas e indicadores que hoy en día nosotros tenemos como ministerio. Yo creo que en esa etapa de sensibilización de la estrategia y en evaluar nuevos riesgos que puedan estar en la implementación de esta estrategia de ciencia abierta y educación abierta, está el resultado que podamos tener a futuro como ministerio. Y sobre todo también involucrando en la estrategia de ciencia abierta el papel que juegan determinados agentes externos. Hoy en día creo que como proyecto existen bien claras las recomendaciones para el Ministerio de Educación Superior. Quizás se pudieran también trabajar en algunas pequeñas recomendaciones para esos agentes externos que también nos van de alguna manera ahora nos van a propiciar que lo que se ha diseñado como proyecto tenga un resultado. Yo creo que es una oportunidad y bueno, darle las gracias a todos por los 3 días de aprendizaje que indiscutiblemente nos hace pensar diferente, sobre todo trabajar en materializar todo lo que se ha trabajado acá.
Muchas gracias.
I have a way. Bueno, yo estaba en un momento que había la colega y otra vez,
breve. Me parece que algo que lo que ocurrió ayer allá, por lo que salió, parece que no es terrible. Porque ya nosotros no fuimos por eso.
No.
Y entonces yo le estaba preguntando que había cerrado ayer y que había deshabilitado hoy. Pero no se siente bien que tuvo simplemente vaya, no fue. No es lo que le deja responsabilidad. No, claro, les digo que por eso estoy saliendo porque.
Una acción, por favor, en español o
En español.
en español.
Bueno, buenos días. Mi nombre es Mederos Paredes, soy directora de Tecnología Educativa de la Universidad de Pinar del Río. Sí, directora de Tecnología Educativa de la Universidad de Pinar del Río. Bueno, teniendo en consideración lo que Fede nos preguntaba hace un ratico sobre la intervención, hacia dónde iba dirigida, mi criterio desde la universidad respecto a los dos proyectos, bueno, a AGRIS y a Sceiba, que se ha estado comentando hoy. Primero, la universidad ha tenido una participación activa en los dos proyectos y en los resultados que se han estado alcanzando en el proyecto, lo que se ha podido ver e implementar al interior de la universidad y se ha podido también socializar con otras universidades y otras instituciones fuera del Ministerio de Educación Superior. En la universidad, en el momento que se escribieron las políticas y la estrategia de educación y ciencia abierta, hubo un nivel de socialización con los actores que iban a tener determinada intervención y la retroalimentamos. Somos del criterio, al igual que los que nos antecedieron de las otras universidades, de que se debe seguir intencionando su socialización e intervención desde el Ministerio de Educación Superior, para que pueda implementarse no solo en nuestras universidades, que somos parte del proyecto, sino en el resto de las universidades. El crecimiento, además, que hemos podido tener en este intercambio, el acercamiento a resultados ya más concretos, aun cuando han ido saliendo resultados parciales en el desarrollo de todo el proyecto, es la expresión del trabajo fuerte que se ha venido realizando durante todos estos años y lo que hemos podido aportar cada uno en ese trabajo. Yo considero desde el rol que tengo en este espacio hoy que debe haber una continuidad o a través de otro proyecto o a través de ya la puesta en práctica de los resultados del proyecto, pero que debe seguir la cooperación que hemos alcanzado entre las diferentes instituciones, entre los expertos y las universidades, y las relaciones que se han podido establecer para continuar alcanzando resultados en la ciencia y en la educación abierta de manera general, como expresión más general de lo que se ha venido realizando.
Muchas gracias.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Alicia Rodríguez, me desempeño como vicerrectora académica docente de la Universidad de Camagüey. Entre mi función fundamental está el seguimiento, la asesoría al proceso de formación de profesionales en una universidad multidisciplinar, idéntica al resto de las universidades que trabajan hace varios años en este proyecto. O sea que tenemos una gama de especialidades, disciplinas en las que es muy importante la introducción a paso gigante de la estrategia de educación abierta y ciencia abierta para la continua calidad del proceso de formación en sentido general. En cuanto a nuestra apreciación como directiva de una universidad en nuestro país, veo dos elementos fundamentales, y es que nos ha permitido a todos el intercambio con relación a la integración de la gobernanza, de los sistemas informacionales de nuestro país desde cualquiera de nuestros ministerios, lo que está en coherencia, en correspondencia con una de las políticas para el desarrollo económico y social de Cuba, desde la propia mirada y exigencia del presidente de la República en el tema de ciencia, innovación, comunicación e información de la sociedad. La transformación digital, por tanto, todo lo que hemos estado conversando en esta última etapa del seminario viene muy bien para corregir nuestros pensamientos y apurar el paso para la alfabetización. Evidentemente, trabajar en función de que los docentes, los profesores, el personal técnico de apoyo, los desarrolladores de conjunto impulsen las estrategias, las políticas para implementar todas las ideas que hemos venido discutiendo, va a ser de vital importancia para avanzar en que la sociedad cubana mejore en el tema del pensamiento y el uso de la información, que todos tenemos la posibilidad y el derecho a acceder a ella. Ese es un elemento que a nuestra apreciación, el tema de la integración de los sectores que hoy abordan esta temática, debe ir paulatinamente. Si los miembros del proyecto, con la colaboración de los expertos, definitivamente proponemos al Ministerio de Educación Superior en Cuba que esta política sea establecida con todas las premisas que debe llevar. Y por otra parte, el segundo elemento que más desde mi punto de vista hemos estado valorando es que evidentemente tenemos que continuar alfabetizando no solo al gremio académico y científico de Cuba y de los países que estamos participando en el proyecto, sino también a los factores institucionales de gobierno, porque en nuestro país las políticas sociales están dirigidas por los organismos centrales de gobierno y nos acompaña un grupo de organismos e instituciones no gubernamentales que también forman parte de la vida social cubana, y hoy son un centenar de instituciones que también debieran colaborar y formarán parte de la alfabetización de la población cubana desde los párvulos o más pequeños, primera infancia, hasta la cátedra del adulto mayor. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. No hay comentario. Es tiempo para ir al... antes de ir, before going, we'll do it in English, because Benoit, for you, it was a little bit, you were lost. I was at a certain time also a little bit lost because they talk sometimes, despacio, I say sometimes. But anyway, I think we will come back for discussion afterwards, and on the coordinated three topics. When we talk about software platforms, about the sort of coordinated, integrated approach on national and institutional level, to talk about that. In fact, related to that, also about standards for these platforms, for authority systems, for identifiers, for for metadata formats, standards over the whole country in the end. anyway on the level of NES and on the level of research and education, on the higher education. Then the third point is about the guidelines and the policies to create this standardized approach. I think these are three topics that we can discuss in the afternoon. Did I forget something? I don't know. Something to add? Another question?
Maybe on indicators, it could be also.
Yes, about the indicators. About indicators on national and local level. Indicators, research in indicators. Okay, 4 topics. I will write it down and before you can start the discussion. But first of all, Fede, we can go. Everybody hungry? Otherwise we stay here, eh? We can also, but okay, I think...
The lunch is ready.
You're checking, okay. Okay. But I think... thank you very much.